Hello, and welcome to a remastered box of Warhammer 40k's Grim History from the Beyond. I'm Zeckthar, and because we're discussing the 13th Black Crusade next week, I figured I would remaster one of my very first short boxes about one of my favorite players in the Milky Way system, the Necron Overlord, Trazyn the Infinite. So without further ado, these are the exploits of Trazyn the Infinite during the 13th Black Crusade. Enjoy.
Now, Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade moved towards the fortress world of Cadia in 999.M41. It was, at this moment, Trazyn the Infinite played the unlikely role of hero, due to self-interest mainly, to the Imperium of Man's defenders. It began on Trazyn's tomb world of Salamis. The first alarm came from the bell of St. Gerstald. For thousands of standard years, it had sat in silence upon its pedestal, content to while away eternity in the vast collection of artifacts possessed by Trazyn. Then, on a day seemingly little different to any other in the unchanging hallways of Salamis, the bell began chiming with ever greater force. The first doleful note chimed, splitting the vault's ceiling, unleashing a flood of coolant that instantly dissolved the last examples of Uliak sand sculpture in existence. The second note triggered a logic cascade within the circuits of Salamis' master program, causing it to wrongly command each and every one of the Tomb World's Necron warrior legions to return to stasis sleep. By the time the bell of St. Gerstald sounded its third chime, the reverberations had grown sufficiently destructive that even the composite alloys of Necron flesh could not withstand its onslaught. Trazyn lost 5 surrogate bodies, in fact, in his increasingly desperate attempt to bring about silence. After the 13th chime, the bell of St. Gerstald finally fell silent. Pausing only to cast the contraption into the depths of the webway, hoping that it would be the Eldar's problem, Trazyn wondered what it could mean. Gathering information from other Necrons, he discovered the answer to the riddle of the bell. He discovered that Abaddon's Black Crusade would be the destruction of humanity, which caused the problem. He needed more artifacts from humanity, and if the war swallowed them up, he was left with nothing. He could act if he decided, but where to begin? Where was the cause of the corruption? Alas, he found the catalyst. To the Imperium of Man, it was known as Cadia. Trazyn could not recall setting foot there, not in all of his travels. To his understanding, it was a drab, gray world. On the other hand, if the role of savior grew tiring, Cadia would surely offer opportunities to expand his collection. Yet, he could hardly make the journey undefended. Cadia was a near-permanent war zone, and he'd not survived the endless eons since biotransference by taking unnecessary risks. Perhaps one of his peers would lend him a phalanx or two. Emotech of the Sawtech dynasty, perhaps? No. That wouldn't do. Not after Sominor. In fact, now Trazyn came to consider it, he didn't have any peers left who wouldn't turn him down just outright. Then perhaps one of his contacts within the Imperium itself. No, they were too obtuse. There had been that one Inquisitor. A shame what had happened to her, but humans took such great delight in killing one another. No, sadly, Helena Valeria would be of no assistance, but maybe she held the key, or at least invited a certain sardonic justice. His spirit restored, Trazyn headed deeper into the catacombs, searching for one particular vault. Trazyn eventually made his way to Cadia, accompanied by several key items holding portions of his imperial collection. He made contact with Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl. Cawl turned and realized the new thing on the battlefield was maybe an ally?
And mean you no harm.
Trazyn cocked his head to one side.
Are those the correct words? I find that no matter which I use, no one ever believes them.
You are an abomination, Cawl said coldly. The Necron set his staff aside.
Thief normally suffices. I prefer an honored guest. But abominational thief, you and I have common cause.
Logic dictates otherwise. We share no commonality,
Cawl said analytically.
Perhaps. I went to the fires of biotransference in chains. You, I think, have gladly sliced away your humanity piece by piece.
Trazyn stepped closer, eyes blazing.
But neither of us desire to see this galaxy ripped asunder by chaos. Destroy me if you wish, and will simply awaken elsewhere. Nothing will change for me. Yet for you...
Cawl remained silent, probabilities warping and reforming with fresh data. First, an Eldar had set him on this path. Now, a Necron offered to guide his steps. But if the knowledge preserved the omniscience Imperium...
Show me.
Trazyn cackled, a sound dry as dust, echoed around the chamber.
I thought you'd never ask.
With Trazyn's aid, Belisarius Cawl began to master the intricacies of the Necron-built pylon network beneath Cadia's Elysian Fields, the largest field of the pylons on the fortress world. At Trazyn's direction, Cawl focused his attention on the pylon that served as the command node for the Elysian Fields. With each moment, the tendrils of his machine consciousness delved deeper into the pylon's pathways, his understanding of its arcane constructions magnifying with each binary calculation. At last, he comprehended the full scope and purpose of the pylon fields, the elegance of the design millennia beyond the advances of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Trazyn the Infinite watched from the shadows, careful not to provoke the Cataphren breachers tasked with his obliteration should he attempt betrayal. He still didn't know himself if he intended one. The possibilities offered by the immediate future were too tempting, yet too finely balanced. Had he come as a thief or a savior? Uncertain, the Necron watched the Archmagos at his work. But then, the western wall of the vast cavern collapsed with an ear-splitting roar. Black-armored traders crashed into the line of waiting electro-priests, a line that collapsed within moments of the first blow. Abaddon the Despoiler himself hacked and tore at their head, the demon sword Draknirin, cleaving alloy and bone without effort. Trazyn watched the breachers' Torsen cannons rip into the traders' ranks, and knew at once the Cataphrons would not prevail. Thief or savior? The decision had been made for him, at least for the moment. Reaching beneath his scaled cloak, the Necron withdrew a gleaming fractal tesseract labyrinth and hurled it into the fray. It bounced twice, the shifting energy fields decomposing into glowing gossamer strands. Then, its captive dimension unfolded in a burst of dazzling light, disgorging a new army into the war-torn cavern. Yet this was not a Necron legion, nor even a body of troops drawn from a single world. The Tesseract's contents comprised the merest fragments of Trazyn's Imperial collection. For Lieutenant Commander Serentus of the Ultramarines, barely an eye blink had passed since the dark days of the Horus Heresy. For his Contemptor-patterned dreadnoughts and the mortal brothers alike, no guidance was needed save the presence of the blasphemous icons of chaos and the Imperium's double-headed Aquila. The dreadnought Talon at their head, the time-lost Ultramarines prosecuted their eternal battle anew. But they were not alone. The Vestraean Firstborn 21st Regiment, snipers from long-dead Tanith, Salamander Astartes thought lost during the Clovian disaster, and even a single Adeptus Custode joined the fray. With the arrival of the impossible reinforcements, the Black Legion assault stalled. His self-appointed duty done, Trazyn returned to the shadows. The role of savior might perhaps have suited him in that hour, but self-sacrifice was a task he gladly left to organics. Yet there was one amongst the Tesseract loose groups who did not join the battle, but surveyed it coldly from the fringes. Cadia Greyfax, Inquisitor of the Ordo Hereticus, was not known for leaping to rash conclusions. Her bodyguard, drawn from the 55th Capic Eagles, had their lasguns leveled, yet not a single scion fired without the Inquisitor's order. Greyfax surveyed the room until her eyes settled on Trazyn. Aiming her condemner bolter at the Necron, she snarled, "Abomination!"
What word again?
A metal hand gestured lazily across the cavern.
Stop me if this sounds familiar, but I suspect your priorities require reevaluation.
You sow corruption wherever you tread. Your reckoning is overdue. She pulled the trigger. Or she tried to. Her fingers didn't respond. Trazyn opened his palm, a flood of microscopic machines flowing over his fingers.
I am not a fool. The mind shackles will not let you harm me.
Bile flooded Greyfax's mouth. Anger seared it away. You've corrupted me, as you did Valeria.
A precaution only. As for Valeria, she had a remarkable brain. You robbed me of the opportunity for study.
Again, Greyfax tried to pull the trigger. Again, nothing happened. Useless,
I brought you here out of common cause,
said Trazyn.
I am not yet done with this world, and nor is your Imperium. If you seek to save it, I suggest you focus that flown-at-all certainty of yours elsewhere. Our reckoning will wait.
And so it did. Cawl managed to get the Cadian pylon network functioning briefly, and it even cut the forces of Chaos's connection to the Imperium by causing the Eye of Terror to begin to shrink, badly weakening the hull of its demonic forces upon the Materium. Even the Despoiler was forced to retreat off-planet, angered that its defenders had once more managed to prevent him from claiming his prize. But Abaddon would not be denied his prize this time. He used the damaged remains of the Blackstone Fortress,
Will of Eternity,
as an artificial meteorite, smashing it into the surface of Cadia, killing most of its remaining defenders. Connection to the warp restored, the Eye of Terror began to grow beyond its former bounds, engulfing the Cadian Gate and the dying fortress world itself. The instability in the warp would extend outward from the Eye of Terror, eventually cutting the galaxy and the Imperium of Man itself in half, creating
the Great Rift.
For Trazyn, the cause was lost, and having done what he could, he decided to claim one more prize addition to his collection. He watched the end of the battle from the caverns beneath the Elysian fields from a rocky perch, aware that history unfolded before him. Metal fingers toyed with another Tesseract labyrinth, its unfathomable dimensions fit to carry a single trophy from the embattled Cadia. But what should that trophy be? Trazyn waited till the very end, as the Imperial defenders fled the caverns beneath the Elysian fields in the wake of Abaddon's catastrophic meteorite strike. As Lord Castellan Ursarkar E. Creed, Cadia's greatest defender and the man who had almost single-handedly kept the fortress world alive, organized the evacuation of the surviving Imperial forces from the dying world of Cadia, determined to die with dignity, even as he tried to save what he could. That was when the Necron Overlord struck. With a shudder, the line of Cadian defenders shrank towards the evacuation fields. The winds rose, stirring the dust storm in new heights. Suddenly, Creed was alone. Creed stumbled. Despite the medic's valiant labors, his wounds still bled. He felt his strength ebbing as his lifeblood seeped into the greatcoat's fabric. The storm parted, not before a demon, but a metal giant in a scaled cloak. The wind snatched away Creed's hurried shot. Light glittered upon the figure's upraised palm, iridescent polygons billowing in hypnotic dance.
Ursarkar E. Creed.
The giant's words slammed down like tombstones.
This need not be your end. Eternity awaits.
The giant's laughter followed Creed into darkness. And then Trazyn the Infinite let the darkness claim him, teleporting back to Salamis, thief and would-be savior both. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. And if you did, feel free to subscribe, comment, follow, and like. And if you really like our stuff, please join our membership squad on our YouTube channel,
Tales of Asheraka.
With your support, we can continue to build and grow our Voxes, as well as some cool extra stuff for you guys that join. Once again, we need the support of you, our dear listeners, so we can continue to make a successful show that you all enjoy. We will also be opening up a shop for you guys to get some sweet swag, but until then, we need support in the form of members. If you're listening on Spotify, don't worry, you can help as well. If you click the support podcast button on any of the descriptions on Spotify, you can donate to our success too. Well, I think that's enough grandstanding for me today. I'll just go ahead and get off my soapbox and say, as always,
Until next time, this is Zeckthar, signing off.